Q&A. So we have two amazing college mentors with us today for your phototherapy Q&A. They're going to introduce themselves, give you some background on them, but then it's really your time to share your questions with them. Please type your questions in chat. We love student engagement. It does not have to be about the lab. We can talk about all college experience. If you're applying to college at the moment, just put that in chat as well. We want to hear from you all, but I'm going to stop speaking and pass it off to Ariana, who's going to introduce herself first. And so let's get started with our college mentor Q&A today.
Okay, awesome. I'm just going to share a presentation with you guys. So just maybe give me a thumbs up if you guys can see that. And then I'll get started. Okay. My name is Ariana, and I'm currently an ET mentor. So I host sessions with other engineers and do wrap-up presentations. But Joshua and I were both really familiar with Q&As as we were both mentors last year. So my interests include the biomechanics of human movement. So what you guys are doing right now is more concentrated in the actual body, but I look at the body like from the outward perspective and try to see how external factors can impact our walking. So this will help me pursue lower limb prosthetics in the future. So just seeing how the forces impact our body and maybe suggest ways that people can walk more safely to reduce injury in the future. So I attend the University of Texas at Austin. I'm currently a junior in biomedical engineering. So a little bit about myself, I'll just go through a timeline where I started and how I got to UT, my experiences in high school. Maybe you're wondering, oh, how did you decide your major, or how did you explore in high school? So in high school, I took computer science classes, I took a robotics class, and then just the basic science and math courses. So our school didn't really have access to a lot of engineering classes at all. There's only one engineering class, and they didn't really tell us about the different types of engineering. I didn't really even know about biomedical engineering when I came into high school. So I just had to slowly learn about it. So I figured out that, or I learned about biomedical engineering and I was really interested in it. So I took a class on that. And then I started a club with my friends so that we could further explore our interests. So in high school, you might not really know what you're really interested in. You might not really know what you're going to do with your future, but I encourage you guys to, if you enjoy this lab, then further explore it, find other opportunities that are semi-related to phototherapy or biomedical engineering. Or if you don't like it, that's still okay. You don't have to like everything, but at least it narrows down your options and you kind of figure out what you really enjoy. So then in freshman year, I started attending the University of Texas at Austin for biomedical engineering. But as you see here, I'm kind of also in the mechanical engineering department because biomechanics is studying human movement. So we're studying like what mechanical engineers do, but we're applying it to the human body. So I was in a neuromuscular and musculoskeletal biomechanics lab. It's a lot of big words, but it's just studying different parts of different systems in the body and how they impact each other. So then after that, I went back home for the summer and went to a UTD lab, UT Dallas, where they did exactly the same thing, but they were just starting off. So I kind of helped them start up their lab and learned a little more of the basics on what it takes to set up these programs and how can we start getting people in so that we can study their data. And then now I'm in Texas Robotics, which is, you might not think of prosthetics as robotics, but actually the more we develop prosthetics, the more robotic-like they're going to become because we want them to be an actual extension of our limbs. So I'm in the robotics department and I'm working with NUPOC, which is Northwestern University Prosthetic and Orthotic Center, where they collect a lot of data and they send it to me and they say, figure out why these people are walking this way, figure out how we can improve it. So that's just a little bit of background of where I am, how I got here. And then I just have a few photos to share. So I don't know, can you see my cursor? in the top left corner, uh, this is the program that we use. So I zoomed it in a little bit. But have you guys, I don't know if you guys have ever seen like superhero behind the scenes movies where they're in these weird uh, like tight suits that have reflective markers like balls on them. So we actually take a bunch of those reflective balls and we tape them on people, and then they just walk, and we capture them with cameras that can only sense reflective light, and we study their movement that way. So if you've ever wondered why superhero movies use that, it's just a very accurate representation of how your body's moving. Even the skin movement can change where the markers are. So then after that, this is my lab at UTD. I helped them set up this whole lab. There's a whole camera system around the whole lab that has these types of cameras that can pick up these reflective markers. And then if you can see on the bottom corner, this is kind of what it looks like when you end up taping all these balls to yourself. Sometimes they get misplaced. I found some in my bag before, but they're really useful tools. In the future, there are going to be different LED lights that we can put on people that can help sense their movement. But right now, we're not that developed, and it's not so accurate right now. But then here, this is where I am now. Oops. In the robotics department, and then I just have a little clip of what it looks like when you can see they're walking. So this is a frame by frame video, so it's really slow, but this is what you can capture with the markers itself. So you know exactly where you're putting each ball and where that corresponds with your body. So you're able to actually put bones in between the or like model bones in between the markers so that we know what it looks like. So already over here, there's been a whole skeleton put on the people depending on where those markers were. So that just gives you a little bit of background on biomechanics. I know it's totally different than what you're doing, but I'm going to hand it over to Joshua, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about himself.
Yeah, no, very interesting stuff. Very cool stuff. Yeah,
Thank
if you're
you.
interested in that, please look into that stuff. It's kind of relative to this lab, but I would say a little bit my kind of research is a little bit more relevant to what you're doing right now. I'm a mentor as well. I love mentoring, passing on information, just helping you guys understand, well, how do I get into these spaces? These engineering spaces are really scary. They look really professional. They look really like smart, but like just know that all you need is like a mentor. All you need is someone to give you some really helpful information to kind of get you there. I had the same thing. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but my interests in engineering are within drug delivery, so it's kind of just asking people, well, how do we kind of get this drug into the specific site, and not harm the body in the meanwhile. And I also like to work in small molecule therapeutics, and also cancer immunotherapy. So this kind of subject kind of just interacts with, well, how can we use our immune systems to fight cancer? Right now, we kind of use chemotherapeutics. That's the kind of standard right now. And that has a lot of harm to the patient because, all the drug interacts with everything in your body. So if you're killing a tumor with a chemotherapy, you're also killing healthy cells with a chemotherapy. And that's what drug delivery asks. It says, well, how can we tinker either the dose, we can make it more specific to the tumor so that it has that less toxicity to the patient. And it can be really rough to patients. They can lose hair, they can get tired, they can get other diseases that really hurt. So drug delivery is a very important topic. I'm a senior at Hopkins. My journey through college has been really, really, really fun. I'll kind of go into that to the next slide, but my major is chemical and biomolecular engineering, and my minor is psychology. And I'm going to go a little bit about my path. I first started in high school, just a little independent research project. I didn't really know what I was doing, to be honest. But I first started to be introduced into kind of just like, how do we kind of track these vaccines? There's resistance to antibiotics with Staphylococcus aureus. So how can we kind of track the timeline to see when we want a vaccine developed? Because it can get really rough. The body is smart. It develops resistance to a lot of these new vaccines. Then I worked at PM Pediatrics because I had the kind of journey. I wanted to be a doctor. A lot of people will sometimes tell you to be a doctor, be a doctor. And I heard that too. And at first, that was my true passion. Like, I really liked it. But I took a shot at this internship at BioNTech. Didn't think I would get in. I took the interview just on a chance. I was like, maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't. And it turns out I did because I just had a really good interview. I talked to the person and I said, I'm really interested in this topic. I really want to try it out. And she took a chance on me. So biotech research is a little bit of cell therapy. Again, it's kind of using that same mentality of trying to use your immune system against cancer. And then when I kind of, throughout the internship, I got really interested in this kind of topic, this topic of how do we get drugs to the cancer site a lot more specifically and a lot more powerfully. So I wanted to research combination therapies. I work at Hopkins as a researcher, and we kind of research different combinations to kind of make that toxicity less for the patient. And now I'm just really interested in immunology, so I want to get a PhD in immunology in the future. And the next slide is going to go into like the pictures of my journey. I actually first worked at Nando's. That was my first job. And I'll always say that any job, any job will have any relevancy to any other career. So as you can see over there, that's my internship at BioNTech on the second one. I'm kind of holding the tubes in a waiter-like fashion. That actually really helped me kind of speed up the production. And then after the internship, I worked within those combination therapies. You can see that little purple picture right there. Those are actually breast cancer cells. And that's actually the point where they get a little bit stressed. And I was adding drug to these cells. So they got stressed and they started like reaching out for each other. They're saying like, help, help. So that's what you're kind of seeing there. I can't put mice on the slide. So I put a little stuffed animal of mice because we work with mice. And that's me in the kind of getup that you need to study with these mice. So essentially you have the cells, which are a little bit less relevant to the patient. Then you have mice, which are a little bit more relevant to the patient. And we're at mice right now. Getting to people is very, very hard, and it takes a lot of safety evaluation before. So mice is the first point. And the next one is just the people I'm working with, the people I'm talking to. I will always say that engineering and just developing professionally is always about the connections you make. And the connections you make with me right now, with the mentors right now, with Ariana and me, when we talk about college, that's very important. You're getting your first steps in understanding what is engineering. So there's me, I'm kind of do some lab work in that picture. I'm with all my friends over there. We had this conference and I'm researching, I'm presenting my research in that slide up there. You kind of see that good luck circle right there. That's me and my friends. We saw that like on the way to the conference, and we said good luck. And that last one on the bottom left, that's a hydrogel, and that's for drug delivery as well. So it's a very exciting topic, and I'd love to hear your guys' questions about anything in the chat. High school, college, professional. I'm excited. I see some already.
Oh, there are some already. All right, you guys want to go ahead and hit that first question from the Ursuline School?
Yeah, this is a great question. How far did you take your independent research project in high school? That's a very important question to ask because not a lot of these schools have these resources. My school thankfully had the resources to supply me like a couple $100 to like see what's going on with this kind of stuff. But I will say like it's not the same thing for everyone. You might have, less opportunities than another school, but don't let that discourage you. Just because you don't have the opportunity right in front of you doesn't mean you can't go out and search for it somewhere else. We'll talk a little bit more about this, but a lot of honor societies or a lot of like engineering organizations, one that I'm in is called Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. There's other ones, Biomedical Engineering Society. A lot of these different societies that outreach to high school students. So if you just, look up the names, just look up engineering organizations for high school students. Just look that up in Google and see what resources they can give you to kind of follow your passions in that regard. So great. Was it only online? It actually was during COVID, so I had to do my research online. And did you enter your research in any competitions? No, because COVID happened. So that was a little difficult. But those are great questions. Great questions.
Oh yeah, and then going back on what Joshua said about like different orgs reaching out to you guys.
Mhm.
So as I said, I was in robotics, and they have like a robotics symposium where they bring in industry professionals and professors, and high schoolers can actually come to our school and listen in on those few days and ask questions and meet with these professors and actually talk to them one on one. So if you guys live near a college, I think that you can look out for their events and see if they have anything, because usually they don't ever really restrict someone from coming on campus and learning about something. So
Exactly. And all you got to do is take a chance. If you send the email and you don't get a reply back, Happens all the time. If anything, it's very important for you to learn that skill in high school because I've sent out a lot of emails to people who haven't emailed back. I've sent them back 2, 3 emails in repeat to kind of get them to reply. So don't worry if you don't
Mhm.
get a reply back. It's not your fault. That doesn't mean you're not smart. I'm sure you're the
They're
smartest
just
person
very
out
busy people.
there. Exactly. Very, very busy
Yeah.
people. So let's move on to the next question. Ariana, what do you think some other fields of study that students should venture into if they find this topic interesting? Phototherapy.
Well, I think this is very much like a sciencey lab.
Mhm.
So for me, being able to see how things and with science and the research that you guys are doing can actually impact people was a main reason why I chose biomedical engineering. So if you're that type of person that's working on something and needs like some motivation and you want to see like in the real world, how is my uh, impact going or how am I going to impact people, then biomedical engineering is a really good place to be, or just any like chemistry, bio type
Yeah.
major.
Yeah.
But what do you think, Joshua?
Yeah, great question. Within chemical engineering, you ask kind of any chemical engineer, they'll probably tell you that, oh, we work with oil, oh, we work with chemical plants.
Mhm,
So the fact that I'm a chemical engineer working in these spaces, it could be a little weird. It could say, wait, that's not usually what chemical engineers do, but
mhm,
that's okay. Chemical engineers can work in phototherapy and biomedical engineering. Material science engineers can work within biomaterials and phototherapy as well. So if you kind of look at biomedical engineering and think, well, this phototherapy thing is really cool, but biomedical engineering isn't for me, but you say you find chemical engineering more kind of interesting, or you find biochemistry even more interesting, you can still apply a lot of these concepts you learn into what you learn in whatever kind of field of study you're in. So as long as you're kind of in a science that kind of interacts with, say, like light, say like cells, say like drugs, um,
mhm.
yeah, you there's a lot of fields of study, material science, immunology is one, chemistry is even one because they deal with like chemicals that like kind of emit light. Biochemistry can be one. There's a lot of fields out there you can always apply to more.
And I think even if you end up in a major that isn't specifically or like exactly what you wanted, you're always like kind of in the same realm and you can always figure out how you can work in a research lab or get an internship in something that you're really interested in. So don't let the the need to like choose a major like make you really anxious because you have some freedom and you can always choose to attend universities that give you more freedom or allow you to have uh, minors or anything like that so that you can uh, explore different topics.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great answer. This is also a really good question. What is a good GPA to get into a college like Hopkins and University of Texas? That's a hard answer to give because it's very subjective. The
Mhm,
one thing I will say that's very, very important, and what I think was very, very important for me too, was kind of just like understanding that you have to participate in extracurriculars. You have to participate in your personal essay. I know some people they when they applied, they kind of did their personal essay in the last week. Don't do that. Don't do that because you're boiling down your whole entire personality, your whole entire journey through high school within 1 week, and you're trying to do it in like a couple pages. So when
mhm,
you're kind of thinking about applying to college, look at that personal essay like kind of prompt and say like, well, how some of them are like, how did you contribute to your the community in your high school? And then think about, well, how can I contribute to the community in my high school? You can join clubs, you can do community service, all that type of stuff shows that you're taking initiative within your high school, and colleges want that. Colleges don't want you to just go back to your study room and just study the same books. They want you to get involved with the community. They want you to do extracurriculars. They want you to do clubs. And getting that habit in high school shows a lot more kind of potential for college.
yeah, and so uh, what I always heard was that it doesn't really matter really what your GPA is because everyone has access to different classes. Like some schools might have more AP or like IB classes. So, and our GPAs are all on different scales. So there's not one way to set everyone equal and to compare everyone just by a number, right? So what can differentiate yourself is if you go out and follow your passions and explore something. Because like Joshua said, I think it's really like amazing and people really want students who have a passion and who have like kind of explored it
Yeah.
And it just shows potential and shows that you have an interest and something that's going to drive you to put in a lot of work when you're in college.
Yeah.
So I think don't think about GPA too much. Just think about your experiences, because when you describe a person, you're not describing them with a number. You're describing them based on their personality and the impact that they've had on the world.
Exactly, exactly. And this is a great question from Constance. What are your go-to organizational strategies from high school to university? I would say, like, I mean, kind of informing on that previous discussion we had. GPA is, I mean, not to say that GPA is the most important, but it's important because, you know, when you're studying for these classes, your organization and your studying habits inform about your GPA. Like your GPA informs the applicant, the person who's like choosing your application says, oh, this person can kind of study well, can kind of take some information and kind of spit it out on an exam, and he does it really well. So he must have good organizational strategies. He must have good study strategies. So I would say building up those organization strategies, building up those study kind of methods is very important for you to build in high school, so that when you're in college, you don't have to learn in college. You're already applying it in college, and that's going to help you get a leg up on just like studying any competition that you have. So I would say my go-to organizational strategies is get a Google Calendar. Really helps. Get like a task, kind of, you either get like a whiteboard that you can kind of just keep up in your room and say, okay, I have the homework for this class, I have to do this activity for this other class, and you kind of just understand, okay, this is what I have to do today. So that way you don't really get caught on your heels whenever, you know, you go into a class and you forget homework, and that can really suck, you know. It's really frustrating. So I would say get a whiteboard for your room. What something that I do is I keep a post-it with like all the stuff I need to do today, and I keep it on my laptop so that I'm always looking at it. So if I'm on my laptop fiddling with other stuff, then I have to recognize, oh, I have this to do today. So that kind of keeps me accountable. But what about you, Ariana? What kind of strategies do you have?
Well, I just kind of use the same task organizer and make sure that I'm hitting all my daily goals, and then just changing my daily goals for the next day based on how much I've done, and just be like realistic with myself and appreciate all the work that I've put in, and then take time to relax sometimes too, because your mental health is very important. Um, I think since you talked a lot about that, I'll move on to the next question.
Mm.
Um, well, I think we kind of talked about what part of our application maybe got us into our schools. Of course, like GPA is important, but uh, the experiences that we've had in organizations and possibly leadership and your research experience probably contributed a lot to that. But do you have any recommendations for anyone trying to be a surgeon or on the pre-med track? I have some things to say, but you were pre-med before, so maybe
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can go
no,
first.
yeah, no, exactly. Well, not some colleges have this, like they have like a kind of pre-med track. But usually the way it kind of goes is that you apply to just any major that's like kind of relative to science. Say it's like biochemistry, say it's like public health, say it's even chemical engineering. That's a little bit less, kind of like people do it less, but you can still do chemical engineering and then do kind of pre-med. So I would say any recommendations is just take any kind of science-based major and then just kind of understand, well, what are you getting into? Because when I kind of wanted to get into pre-med, when I wanted to be a pediatrician, when I first kind of applied for that job, PM Pediatrics, I was just a medical receptionist. I saw like exactly how the kind of medical field looks like. And I kind of decided, well, I don't think this is what I kind of want to do. I loved interacting with people, but was it something I want to do for the rest of my life? I don't think so. So that doesn't mean that you have to get a job right now to kind of get experience in the field. Just ask questions, you know, look up, you know, even talk to your doctor, say like, well, how was med school for you? Like if they give you some, you know, kind of advice, that helps a lot. So when you kind of try to navigate this space, when you're trying to understand what pre-med and what med school and what kind of your future career is going to look like within a pre-med track, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to reach out. Ask anyone you know, ask a relative if they're a doctor, ask a teacher if they used to do like anything within pre-med before. Just ask questions, and eventually you'll kind of guide towards that kind of mentality of, okay, I want to do this, or I kind of want to have a different approach.
Yeah. So what I learned from talking to different doctors, I was never pre-med, but is that if you really, really, really love helping people, if you love being the one to see them improve and to give advice, and if you just love people in general, that being a doctor is a really good option for you. But if you really like learning, like Joshua discovered that he liked the behind the scenes research part of it, then maybe being a doctor isn't what you're meant for. So you can just explore a lot and then make sure that you're helping out the community while you're in college still, getting that interaction with others.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
have about 4 minutes left, and we have one last question in the chat that I'm going to ask to both of you is
Yeah.
what are you interested in doing once you finish college? And are you going to go right into industry, or are you going to go on to graduate school, PhD program? What are your plans? Let's start with Ariana, and then Josh will wrap it up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm planning on going to graduate school, getting a PhD, and then possibly a certification in prosthetics and orthotics so that I can either work with patients or be the one designing prosthetics. I haven't totally decided that yet, but having the option is really amazing. So hopefully I'll be going somewhere else. We'll see where to get a PhD.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Fantastic.
It's a great question. I would say so my kind of journey towards kind of knowing that I wanted to do like a PhD was I'm telling you once again, like even I like at a senior year, I was still kind of deciding my plan. I was like, well, am I gonna get a PhD? Am I gonna get a master's and just go straight to industry? Um, that's great. That's not a bad thing. When you go into college and you're saying, I don't really know my major, I don't know if I picked the right major, just think about other majors. Have a kind of open mindset. You can change your major up to like the first like 2 years, and then if you change the last like 2 years, it gets a little bit more difficult for you to get your degree on time. So that's why when you're kind of going into college, maybe in the summer before college, you just research the major, just see what's up, see what people what things people in that major are doing, see what careers are up for you when you do that major. But just understand that you're not limited. You can always change in your first kind of 2 years, understand what career path you're going into, and then from there, yeah, just have an open mind. I would say for me, like at first, I wanted to jump straight into industry just because I didn't really trust the fact that I could do a PhD. A PhD is very long, it's 7 years. You have to have your own research, your own independent research project. And I honestly didn't think I was smart enough to do it. So I was just kind of like, I'm just going to go to master's and do the industry. But I will say, like, number one advice I would give is just have confidence in yourself. Just have confidence in the fact that even if everyone around you seems like they know what they're doing and they're a lot more smarter than you or they're more organized than you, know that you're your own person and you have your own journey. And your journey is just as important as anyone else's. I 100% guarantee that. So just keep within your own mindset, believe in yourself, and kind of just go for it. Take any opportunity you get.
Well, I think you just summed it up so amazingly, Josh. Thank you so much to Ariana and to Josh. And thank you to your students and your teachers for putting such great questions in the chat. This was great engagement. We've had phenomenal engagement all day. So again, thank you to Josh and Ariana.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
question.